Hello, my name is Bart de Vries. I am the physio and founder here of Limber, and today is a very exciting day because your Limber desk has arrived, as has mine. I'm down in my home office in the garden, about to set up my new Limber desk for the first time. This is our new design and the first time I'll be putting this together. It's really exciting. We're going to do this in 4 steps. I'm going to unbox all of the things and we're going to have a look at what's in the box. Then we're going to assemble the base and the trunk. Then we'll assemble the desktop. Then we'll put the desktop on the trunk. And the final bit in the puzzle for you is to put on your screen, be it single or double. And there's a couple of videos down the end that can help you do that. I've made myself a cup of tea to help me through this process. I hope you do the same. And before we get started, the first thing that I've done in here is vacuum and clean up this area so that I know that there's nothing sharp, there's nothing that could scratch the desk, or there's nothing I could scratch the desk with. And I've got this nice rug to put parts down on and to move the desk around as we start to assemble it. So I'd recommend doing the same for you, just so that there's no risk of scratching anything in your house or the desk itself. Without further ado, let's get started. All right, let's unbox this thing. I'm going to have a sip of that and pop it down over here. You'll see that it has come in 2 boxes. You've got this big box and you've got the small box. You would have noticed, most likely already, that the small box is extremely heavy because it's got all of the weights in it. And so if we just open this one quickly and I can show you what's in here. Open it up. Just be careful when opening it, particularly if you're using a knife, because this is your weights and they've been shrink wrapped to look after them. And you've got 6 bags of weights in there. And we're going to put those over to the side because we don't need those yet. We can use those at the end. Let's open this box up and see what we got. Just going around the edge to cut the tape so that we can, there we go, pop it open. And we've got some stuff in here that you see. Now, the first most important box to pull out is this one. This is like the smaller of the 2 boxes that are in here. You'll see that in a second. But let's open this up for starters. And again, just cutting the tape enough to open it, but not all the way through. And in here, you've got your welcome booklet. This booklet's really useful because it has a little bit of our story, but it also goes through a bunch of the floor postures that you can have access to. All of them through here, little descriptions of them both. And if you get to the end of this and you're still not 100% sure, then there's the links to the online course that I created so that you can get that for free. And I'll take you through each posture one by one, and we'll talk about the pros and cons of them and the different ways to approach them and get better at them. And then at the very end, there's also this back bend. Shows you how to do the back bend, which has got a fair bit of science around reducing your risk of back pain. If it was the one thing I could recommend everyone in the world to do, it would be that, a little back bend. All right, what else have we got in here? We have the mallet. The Limber mallet. This becomes very important for putting the base together. We have these 2 lids, one for the trunk, one for the desktop. That'll all make sense in a bit. I'm going to pop that back in there. You've got this pulley with the wheel. That's very important. We've got all of these white paper bags, each with different labels on them. And we will need all of those. So we'll just move this over here. We've got the power cord, crucial. And you have 2 tools. This will be one tool, and there's another silver tool in here that is for putting the screws in. You've got your single monitor mount. You've got your bird. This is the back piece and this is your what we call the jammer or the brake piece. And all of these things will make sense in a second. The key thing is to know, just to have a look at these 4 white bags with the different names on them. So you've got base pegs, monitor screws, covers, and screws. All very useful, all very important, all will come into their own any second now. Let's get the next thing. So we get this other box out, this guy here. We're just going to pop this actually over to the side for now because we'll come back to that. These guys, these are the side risers. Really a creative name. You'll figure out why in a second. Then we've got the base, which is important. It's got these 2 bits of cardboard on the end. We can take those off. We can pop the base down on its wheels. See that the 2 front wheels have got brakes on them and the 2 back ones don't. And then we've got the desktop. So I'm putting together the linear desk here today. I'm gonna pop this over here and just land it against the wall. That's all good. And we have the trunk. So you might want to bend that up on its side and then lift it out. Just watch the roof as you do that. We'll pop that down on the ground, and now you start to see why it's important that we have this area cleared, because we don't want it to scratch any of these parts. So let's fold this in, and then we will put this away out of sight in the corner. I hope that's out of sight anyway. And here we have it. We have our spread. Everything we need for a limber desk. All right. First steps first. Second step second. We're going to put this trunk together. So to do that, we need the mallet and we need the base pegs. We do need the trunk and we need the base. All right. I'm going to do this way. So I'm going to put this to the side and I'm going to put these in my pocket, and then we're going to grab this and pop it up one way. Now there's a risk that this is going to fall over, so I'm just going to pop this against the wall for now and just gently, so I don't wreck the wall. There we go. And we're going to grab the base. All right, so the front is the bit that has the hole in it at the bottom here. See that little cutout by my toe? I'm going to have that face me, and then I'm going to bring this over my head and rest this over the top here, and you'll see that that slots in to the base real easy. So there's 2 like foot things that come through, and then the 2 foot things that come through, they've got 2 holes in them. We're going to need the pins for those holes. And by pins, I mean pegs. So that's what it says on the thing. I always say pins. I get it mixed up all the time, even though I've done this for so long. All right, we're going to slot these pins from the inside going outwards into those holes. So you're going to push that down so it's flat, and it will just squeeze in there. That'll hold it in place now and make it easy. We'll do the other side, and then we'll get these ones here, and we'll get these ones here. Hey presto! We've used 1 bag up. That can go out to the side. Now the mallet comes in handy because we need to whack these pins in so they hold tight there. So we're just going to gently whack those in till they don't really want to go much further. Oh yeah, that's nice and strong. We will put this back down in the accessory box. I like to call this the accessory box because it has so many accessories. We're going to rotate this over and flip it down. Just go gently. These edges are all pretty sharp, so just be careful with your hands and the rest of your body as you turn these things around. I generally recommend that you do this process with 2 people, particularly when it comes to putting the desktop on top of this trunk. You're lifting quite a lot of weight, and it's also kind of an awkward movement, so it's much better to do it with 2 people. Much safer. All right, so that's part 2. This is your trunk attached to your base. I've just been flicking the brakes off here and here so that this can roll around. And I'm going to roll this out the way for now. Actually, I'm going to put this in the corner over here because we'll need that in a sec. Step 3, we're going to assemble the desktop. Are you ready? I hope so. I'm going to have a little quick glass of water because I have closed all the windows in my little cabin and it's hot. The magic of film, you don't get to feel the heat that I'm feeling right now, but such as that. All right, so the next step is we need the desktop. We need the side risers. What else do we need, Bart? We need the covers. We need the screws. We do need all of the screws, that's true. And we can put the monitor screws probably back in here because they're going to come into use later in the piece. We're going to need the jammer, which is that thin bit. We're going to need this kind of oddly shaped, it's got that little pokey bit on the end there. We're going to need that. I call that the back piece. And that's all we're going to need for now. Everything else can stay in there. We're going to need this tool. That's what we're going to need. All right, let's go. Let's unwrap these bits here first. So we're going to find the edge of the cardboard and just loosen that off. Gently cutting. You just need to cut that cardboard tape enough that you can break it. You don't actually need to cut it through very hard. You risk cutting the wood. Magic disappears. Cool. Now we'll put those out the way. I might just put this cable back in there too. We'll need that cable in a sec, but we will move all this over, get rid of that, and we'll move this over so that we can get the desktop in here. Now, this is my desktop, so it's not the prettiest job on taping, but all you got to do is take the taping off. And loosen all that up. And then get the rest of it off. Okay. I'm going to put that over here, hopefully out of sight. Stay there. Good. All right. Now we get to the fun bit. So you can see I've put this down on the ground. Again, another reason you want this ground to be nice and clean. We're going to grab one of these. And you can tell from this big channel that's been cut out here and this little nodule here that this is the underside of the desktop. And we want this to end up on the underside of the desktop. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come this way. I'm going to go from the underside with the longest edge. You can see this felty bit that ends up on the underside. So we go feed it through this hole, this longest bit. And the other thing you'll notice, let me figure out how to show you this well. So I'm going to roll this into place, but I know that this is the right side. He says real smoothly, I will roll this into place. Cool. And it is in place. But the reason I know that this is the right side, rather than putting it on this side, is that these half-depth cuts should face each other, should be facing inwards, and there should be this deep hole here that is for the big screw. So let's get the other piece here. And you can see that I'm like leaning leaning this against my body, popping this long piece, and this, you see this little white screw holder here that should face, they should face each other. And here is the deeper hole, and here are the half depth cuts. So we get this in here, rotate it on, and it will fit in the gap here. And then from there, what I can do, stand up and I'll rotate it this way so that you can see this next part. We're going to get the tool and the screws, and we're going to get there'll be 4 screws in here. There'll be 2 small ones and 2 big ones. We're going to get the 2 big ones. See those bad boys? Got the big head, and now it will make sense why this has got this kind of depth cut in here, because we want the head of the screw to fit right in there. Remember, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey, or clockwise to tighten, anti-clockwise to loosen. So I've just put those in by hand a little bit just to get them started. Then we use the long end here to slot it in and rotate. And you can get it on a slight angle, and you should just be able to rotate in here freely. Take your time. We've got a couple, there's only 4 screws to put in. Wow, actually that's not entirely true. There's 4 screws technically, and then there's another 4 of these lamellos, they're called. All right, that's in nice and tight. Really important at this step that the screw head goes all the way lower than that surface. So if you had a ruler, for instance, you could slide that ruler across and it wouldn't hit that screw, because this surface here will be sliding up and down the side of the trunk. And if that screw head is poking out, it's likely either not going to fit over the trunk, or when it goes up and down, it's going to scrape it and cause a hell of a mess, a noise, and you're not going to get all of the joys out of your limber disc. So I'm just screwing this other one in here. So much joys to come as well out of this limber disc. Body's going to get all the movement. Oh, doing that up tight. That should be sitting well below the surface. Fantastic. All right, let's get on to these next bits. So I'm just going to pop this here for now, because I'm going to come back to that in a second. But to start with, we're going to rotate this over, and we're going to open this box, the box that we didn't open before. We're going to open it. Again, very carefully, just even just marking the tape rather than fully cutting it, so that you can break it easily, just so you don't, and then always put your blade away. So many times have I been cut by leaving the blade out. All right, so in here you'll notice that there will be this kind of box and this piece sitting on top. So we want to slide that whole thing out. We want to get this top bit out first. That is the bit that we are going to use now. And you'll see that these dowel pieces here sit behind, and those can slide in and out. And that's for some of our cabling later, so that we make sure that the cables are staying tight and routing in the right way, out of sight. Okay, just going to put this here. Now, like some of you, I'm one of those people that will try to do things too quickly often. And I'm purposely just putting things down and taking my time with this, because I don't want to wreck it. It's very precious, and it's always easy. It's much harder and takes a lot longer to fix problems than it does to stop problems from happening in the first place. So we're going to grab this side piece again. This bit sits around the front of these, and now you'll see how these white pieces have screws in them. We're going to get our tool. We're going to line them up for starters. You might end up needing to actually unscrew these a little bit, so you can so it sits real flush with the each wood piece sits really flush together. And then once it's super flush, and you can push it this way with your one hand, and you're pushing that way with that hand and this way with this hand, so there's a little bit of compression force, not a lot, just a little bit. And then from there we should be able to line up the holes and screw it in. Now this thing, because it's got a ball end, can go on the angle, doesn't need to be straight, but it will require that little bit of force just to make sure it's tight. All right, so that's that one in. Just want to make sure that this front piece is quite flush to these pieces. There's not like a big gap that's forming. If there is, then you either need to screw it out a little bit. So just to make sense out of that, I'm screwing this out enough so that I know that this is flush. And then once I know that's flush, putting that in there, and I'm screwing it into the hole. And at some point it might start to push away. Like now it's starting to form a gap, so I'm just going to back off a little bit. And I can feel that that's nice and solid there. Cool. Then we've got these bottom ones. You see those down the bottom. Same thing, I'm just going to pull it towards me with this hand, and I'm just pulling this down so I've got an easier angle here. Putting a little bit of down pressure on this tool and pushing down. So did I tell you that I'm coming to you from Wellington, New Zealand? Actually a little bit up on the coast out of Wellington. We'll get these made pretty close to where I am, which is nice, and this is probably reaching you in New Zealand perhaps, but we've seen plenty of these abroad as well, so hello wherever you are in the world. And then we are getting these covers. It says covers. Push out, you see them like that, and you'll see that they have these two bits that stick out. Well, those just sit in those holes and clicked in. Real satisfying click, and it just covers up those screws. Oh, that needs to go on a little bit further. There we go. Needed to go on a bit further, in fact. There we go. Click that on. Is this going to go on? Does that need to go on further as well? Needs to go on a little bit further. Look at me. And we'll put that one in a couple more just in case. Cool, that'll click on there. Good, and this one also will click on here. If I can just get it into the right slot, jeepers, but there we go. That's on there. Perfect. Clicked in. Now that is together. Cool. We can, that's another bag down. Just be good with those in case you ever want to shift your desk. You might need it again. We will pop that in there as well. Now we're going to flip this over so it's like this. We've still got two screws in the screw thing, so we'll just leave that over here. We're going to grab the front and back piece and the power cable, pop them there. And it's time to just gently pull this out of this box, and you'll find the weight box, which we don't need yet. Pop that over there, but we do need this undercarriage. So what to do now. First steps first, we will get this jammer, and you'll see that there's these two slots that it fits into here, and then it will go downwards and it will slot into place, and then it will be kind of hard to pull out of that position. That's where we want it. It just lives there. That's the jammer. The next thing we want to do is figure out what to do with this cable. So the end that plugs into your wall, that goes over the back, and this piece here that has these like arms on the side doing that, that is what plugs into the power unit that sits there. So we need to set this up. Oh, itchy eye. We need to set this up before we slide this into position. So how do you do that? Well, you measure out this end piece here should click onto the end of that. That's how much cable you need. That's just our guide. And then you squeeze this into this channel, push the cable into the channel, and you see that we want to go right in. Good. And then from there, just going to move this guy out of the way. This is the undercarriage, and you'll see how, just be careful where you hold this undercarriage, because we glue this together and it doesn't actually take much force once it's all in. It's just during this assembly process that it starts, that if you grab it in the wrong way and pull it with too much force, it will probably come undone. All right, but you've got these two slits here and here, and they correspond to these two slits. So if we turn this over, have the felt pointing down, and slot that over, and you can see that there's this little gap here as well that the cable can fit under. And then from there, all I'm doing is bring it up a little bit more over that little hook and sliding it all the way up, and that should lock into place. Then we need to get the cable head through this hole here. So I'm going to go underneath the felt. I've got the cable head here. I'm going to reach up underneath and I'm going to push that through all the way up through here. And from there, we want the hook things pointing upwards. So they're kind of doing this motion, or pointing towards us, and we can hook it in to the outside of this power box. There we go. And then you wait for it. Listen, if you hold the other end and push it together. Oh, satisfying click number one. Okay, so I'm just getting that in there. Good. Now that's in place, we're going to grab our back piece and bring that around. Let's get up over here. What do I need? You have that, you have the screw for this, and you also have the screwdriver for it. Kind of looks like an Allen key, but just a big silver one. I'm going to cheat and use my drill, because I have one. And this funny bit here on the end of your back piece ends up going over the power cable, so you got to really make sure that that power cable is pushed in. Mine's quite tight. I don't think yours will be that tight. And you've got your screws, the two small screws that were left over. I put them in just by hand a little bit first. Then you've got your tool to screw that in. Just take your time. These are the last two screws that you have. Doesn't matter if these ones are flush or not. but always nice to make them flush so they look good. Cool. And then what we'll do is I'll grab that and we're going to gently just hold the undercarriage and flip this over and pop that on the ground like that. And hey presto, that is the desktop assembled. And we're on to stage 4, putting the desktop onto the trunk. Are you ready? Good. I'm glad you said yes. I'm going to have a little bit of this. It's good. Now, this next step requires lifting this desktop onto the trunk. It's a bit niggly because you need to line it up really well, and it's a bit of an awkward shape. So I 100% recommend you do this with 2 people, always. It makes it a lot easier. But as you can imagine, I've done this a million times. So, and it's just me down in my cabin today. So I'm going to do it myself. Don't follow this example. Tell you that now. All right, grab your weight box. This is the weight box with the rope. You can pop that weight box in the hole there. Whoa, rocked over, that's fine. This goes down and you see like a little spiral cut on the back side of this. This ball sits underneath that and it hooks into it and it sits in that hole, and that's what we have there. So I'm going to move this over here and we're going to bring this trunk back into play. Just going to set that up in the right spot so it's nice and flat and firm. Here we go. We also need the pulley. That's the thing with the wheel in it. We also need that, so that is going to go in here. We want to get some of these weights ready because we're going to use those to counterbalance the desk. And I'm going to show you why that's important in a second, but it's also important to notice that this next step has one of the only dangerous parts of it, so pay real attention as you do this so that you stay safe, which is important. Okay, so as I mentioned, you'd have one person on this side, one person on this side. You're going to lift it up, and this hole here is going to go over this bit here. And let me show you how to do that. Popping it up, right over, going back as far as you can. I hope my mic's okay there. And there we go. It's just fitting over, and then it's sliding down, and you need to put weight on the front edge so that it doesn't drop. Because currently there's no pulley system, there's no counterweight, so this is heavy, there's nothing holding it up. It is this pressure on the front edge that helps the jammer lock in place. And that's what we need it to do for this next step. So I'm going to grab one of these weights. I'm going to put it on this front edge, just away from the edge. Grab another one, put it on this other side. With my other hand, I'm always keeping pressure there. We'll get one more. Put that through there. Now we've got a little bit of weight through there. You can also have someone pushing down through that front just a little bit. You'll hear a few creaks and groans from the desk when you lean on it. That's fine, it's built for that. Okay, so now inside of here we have our pulley and we have our weight box. Now, the reason it's so important to have weight going down is because we don't want this to drop suddenly when we do this next move, because we're going to have our fingers in here. and it's the only time where that could be dangerous. So you notice that the box has the rope at one end. That end needs to be facing the front. So we're going to pull that over and drop it into here. Then with this, we're going to feed the pulley in that gap through there and rope it around the wheel, and then it drops down into the slots inside the trunk. Now we have the pulley system set up, but we don't have the weights in, and that's the next step. So to do that, we have to put the desktop at the bottom. So I'm going to put some downward pressure on the front of the desk again. I'm going to take this weight off. Keeping that downwards pressure. Then I'm grabbing it here and just lifting it a little bit, letting it tilt, and then letting it drop slowly. And now the weight box will be at the top and it will be accessible so we can put our weights into it. Now you'll notice that some of the weights are just flat and some have a tab. Grab the flat weights without the tabs on the end first and put one on either side of the rope. And I like to grab it like that because the wood is sharp. And so you want to just keep your fingers away from the edge of the wood. And I'm pushing it down that end as far as it'll go. And I'm going to do at this end, so I'm just holding it like that, putting it in slowly, trying not to squash my fingers on the wood, between the wood and the weight. I'm going to get these two ones with the tabs on them. Now it'll make sense because there's less space in here. You hold the tabs and you drop them down. And then you hold the tab, you might need to move one of them around. So there's space. Now there's two more weights in there, but we're going to wait. Two more weights, but we'll wait. We can put those in later because we've got nothing on here currently, so the desk is going to move quite freely. We can push that to the side. We can go back into our accessory box, and we've got two lids. You've got this guy that has this kind of bit cut out on the underside. That sits on top here. Should fit in nicely. Then this one is your desktop lid, and that fits on top here. And with this one, there should be a grain that matches up with the grain that you have on your desk, because it's all cut from the same piece. And so you have the same grain across the whole desk. All right, let's have a look at that. See if that's in the right spot. Perfect. You ready? This is a very exciting moment because this is the first time that you're going to feel what it's like to lift your limber desk up. So take your fingers. I was about to say your tootsies, but that's your toes. Take your fingers, put a couple of them underneath. Lift it up to about belly button height. That is your limber desk, fully assembled. All we need to do is put the screen on it for it to be nice and functional. But right here, you have got a desk that likes to go up and down as fast as you can. Now, if you're trying to move it down, you're like, what is he doing? How is he doing that? Why can't I do that? I'll tell you this much. It's a little bit weird when you first do it, but once you've got the hang of it, it's the easiest mechanism in the world. All you do is grab it from the front to lift it up, put one hand in the middle or near the middle, push down on that hand and tilt it up at the front, and you'll feel it kind of click backwards, that hit that backing, and that's as far as tilt as you need. And then you just lean on that front hand and it moves. So easy. Once you've got stuff on here and it's a bit heavier, you'll need to put more weight in the box to counterbalance the screen and everything else. If you are someone who ends up having a lot of stuff on their desk and you're like, it's not moving as easily because you grab it here and it doesn't want to lift, it's just tilting, you might need to grab it from the middle to lift it up, or you just put your hand underneath until it's touching the felt and you lift it close to the middle. And if you want to know why that is, it's because the center of mass changes based on where the weight is on the desk. And so if you've got hardly any weight on the desk, then it moves quite easily. And if you have much more weight on the desk, then the mass moves towards the middle, and so where you grab it has to move closer to where the weight is as well. Anyway, enough of that. Enjoy your desk. Enjoy your limber. Move it up. Move it down. Move it up. Move it down. Have fun. And find the next video based on whether or not you want single screen or double screens or double monitors, and we'll get this final bit done so that you can start working. Let me know if that was fun. Flick me an email, or let me know if it was easier than expected or harder than expected, or if there's ways we can improve it. I'm always up for that. I'm just stoked that you have a limber desk, that we have a limber desk, and we can start working on it soon. See you later.